So you are going to go to Texture, Import. You're going to grab your image here, and then we're going to grab a polyplane here. Go into Edit mode. It's going to make that a white color. Make Polymesh 3D, so it's a editable mesh. We're going to go down here to Texture Map. We're going to select that texture that we imported, and then if we go to Polypaint, you're going to see we have a polypaint from texture. If you hold down Shift, that'll actually snap the ratio to the correct size of the imported texture, so you get perfectly. However, you're going to notice it's very low res, so that's not a huge deal. All I was really looking for was the ratio, so we'll go ahead and go back up here to geometry. We're going to turn off the smooth modifier so we can keep our edges nice and crispy, or our corners not melted. Divide, 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 divide. So we have enough points, so when we do a polypaint from texture, we'll get a nice high-res version of that object. So now if I want to extrude this from a plane, and in fact, yeah, we'll do that. If you want to extrude this from a plane, you can go up here to Subtool, and so we can have, you can see what we're doing, we have the polyplane with the textures on there. I'm going to go here to masking, and we're going to say mask by color and then mask by intensity. So it got a little darker. If we go up here and turn off our polypaint here, you're going to see this is our mask. So let's go over here to mask adjust. I'm going to take this blur and turn it down to 0. This mask profile, if I take this focal shift and just drag it over, and then hit apply, that's going to make it a little bit easier. It kind of just gives me a more contrasty image. Hold down control, let's go to mask pin, and then anything I don't want to be masked, I'm actually going to do mask pin with an alpha just to tighten up those corners a little bit here. And then also under stroke, lazy mouse, make sure that's off. And then it's going to go in here and like clean up this mask a little bit. And then draw size, bring this down a little bit. Masking is one of those weird modifiers, like if you hold down control and try to do stuff you're normally used to, you might have a hard time. Okay, this is cleaned up. These are LEDs. These are holes. That's fine. This is essentially what I'm looking for here. You can also go through here, and let's take that alpha off. And I know this goes straight across here, so I'm just going to take this mask and just clean that mask up a little bit. So here's my mask. We can go through here to our geometry or subtool here. We can turn colorize back on, so we've just basically masked where the color is. In fact, this is an LED as well. Okay, I think we're in good shape. So, just like we did before, we can hit Control W to make that a polygroup, or you can give a that edge loop mask border, delete lower edge loop mask border. So now you can hold down Control Shift. If we turn off the polypaint, you see we have polygroup in here. Hold down Control Shift, isolate that, and then we can do a delete hidden. And now we have our gun on a plane. Now if we want to give this thickness and throw it in the game real quick, or if you just want to like, I mean, you can just take this and pose it, but sometimes it's nice to have a little extruded thickness for when you're going to go draw. So how do we do that? So first of all, I like to make sure I'm Z forward. That's probably what I should have done first, but we can fix it here. Hold down Shift, and I'm just going to make this rotate that so we are, you can see we're Z forward and then Y up. There we go. So Z forward, Y up. So I'm going to take this here, and we're going to go down here to our subtool, extract, and we're going to turn off smooth, and then we'll hit extract, yes, and that'll give us some thickness. I think that's fine. We can make this as thick or as thin as we want. I'm going to go ahead and say accept because it's just a preview. If you hit accept, that'll actually make real geometry here. So now we've got, start our line here, you can see we've got polygroups, we've got some thickness, and it's right across here. We also have some little stragglers out here. If you hold down Control Shift and just grab a little piece of this gun, do Control Shift A, which is Tool Visibility Grow All. Control Shift Drag, you'll see we got a bunch of little stragglers out here. So if, again, Control Shift, grab a little piece, Control Shift A. It's not going to grab your stragglers. Those aren't vert welded. Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden, and there we go. So now, let's turn our line back on. I'm going to do a quick Geometry, Modify Topology, Mirror, and Weld. Puts a little line down the middle. And now I can just make this as thick or as thin as I want to, like so. And you could, you know, use this as your high-res, pre-process it, decimate it down, bake it in Paint or however you want to, or even if you're just going to stay in ZBrush. In the ZBrush Friday Summit, they did go over new camera stuff. So there is, you can dial in actual camera values, which is great for matching reference or painting from like camera taken images for like photograph or portraits and stuff. But what we can do is we can turn off our floor and we can go into perspective, and you can go up here to draw, and you can change your angle of view to kind of match maybe your game angle, and then you can just position this. And so now you have your concept. Here's your first person view, you have your concept and you have a little bit of thickness here, and you can go through, and if you want to deep dive on these a little bit more, the making of this weapon here, if you want to see the making of this weapon right here, and also taking it into Painter and texturing it up, you can go to my page here, and it's called the Sci-Fi Pistol series. So this one has 42 videos in it, and it'll walk you through a bunch of different techniques to arrive at this type of weapon, but it all starts here. And you know what? That's actually the same, if I think about it. I'm going to pen my extracted gun here. I'm going to do a mirror in Z, deformation mirror in Z. Scale this down a little bit. So essentially, it's kind of neat. So here's my extruded concept sketch, you know, very early on in development, and then a lot of different methods to go from this here to this here. But there you go. And of course, just like I do in the presentation, you can do this an entire sheet. All you gotta do is bring in your thumbnail sheets, do the exact same method, extract them out of polyplanes. You can do auto groups or group split or split the parts, and then you'll have a bunch of different weapons in here. I can see if I have